So welcome everyone to the soft launch of the BATOD Audiology Refreshers webinar. It has proved to be a popular webinar with over 200 people in attendance due today. The session is due to be recorded, and please do remember to keep muted. If you have questions throughout the webinar, please pop them in the chat because we'll have a Q&A session later. There was information circulated around regarding the schedule for today. As you can see, it is quite a busy session we have planned. So any questions that we cannot cover today in the allotted time, we will follow up with all the presenters and share them post-event. So again, please remember to mute to minimize any background noise. And I pass over to you on this occasion, Sue. Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon, and how lovely to welcome so many people to the soft launch of the Audiology Refreshers. The Audiology Refreshers were first published over a number of years in the BATOD magazine as a quick refresher and memory jogger for teachers of the deaf, students, and those professionals working with deaf children. And I happen to be seasoned enough to actually remember the very original ones, and very useful they were too. They were last revised in 2009 and published in PDF format. And again, this was a fantastic resource available to all teachers of the deaf and any professionals who needed a quick memory jog on matters audiological. However, 2009 is still quite some time ago, so we have been very lucky in that we have been able to update them. And today is as Teresa said, the soft launch, which is going to introduce everyone to our new online open source publication. There's a lot of content there already, and more will be added over the coming months. And Dr. Imran Khan will be talking later about the aim of how we're going to maintain this resource longer term. I'd like to express our thanks to the William Dennant Foundation for their generosity with the funding for this project. Deaf Kids International were then successful following an interview process for the project coordinator role. I'd like to give my thanks to Gemma Twitchin and Dr. Imran Mullah for their work with this project. And thank you also to our support partners, the British Society for Audiology. This project has engaged many volunteers across both education and health. And I'd just like to name and thank a few people in particular for the hard work they've done on this. The modules were led by Anatomy and Physiology of the Ear, was led by Dr. Imran Mullah, who also coordinated it, the whole project. Etiology and Types of Deafness by Emily Brooke, with key contributions from Veronica Thorverdon, Karen Wright and Katie Clark. The Auditory Perception and Hearing Testing was coordinated by Angela Morris. Acoustics and Physics of Sound by Karen Wright, with key contributors Ruth Crosby Stewart. Listening Skills and Functional Hearing by Naomi Foster, with key contributors from Connor Mervyn, Anne Bailey, Dominic Carswell, Suzanne Churcher, Nicola Wilson, and Matt Fryacre. I can't read my own writing. Sorry. Hearing Technologies from Susan Wynne, with key contributions from Stuart White, Lisa Bull, Connor Mervyn, Nicola de Rocha, and quite possibly I've missed quite a lot of people out, and I do apologise for anybody whose name I've forgotten to check. But thank you everybody very much for all the contributions you've made and all the hard work that's gone into bringing this project to fruition. Module leads will all give a short update on their section as we carry on. But I would particularly like to thank Deaf Kids International for their contribution to this work. They work particularly internationally, both in the UK and abroad. And BATOD has started a special online membership for QTODs in the Global South, who can join if they're recommended by a current member of BATOD. This resource, the Audiology Refreshers, is designed to support not just people in the UK, but internationally, and particularly in the Global South and other low resource countries, where it could be invaluable as a very cheap but important resource for them. Over time, content will be added, hopefully by our Global South peers for their peers, and the opportunity to work with Deaf Kids International on this project has been wonderful. There now follows a short video from Deborah Cleland, the CEO of Deaf Kids International. So welcome, enjoy, and thank you.
Imran, sorry, the audio is not playing yet.
Hello, my name is Deborah Cleland. I am the CEO of Deaf Kids International. We have had the privilege of being involved in the Audiology Refreshers project, which we call the BATOT project, to be able to contribute to the resources that are now going to be launched. So we're really excited about that. I just wanted the opportunity to tell you a little bit about our organization and what we do as a core. We specifically look at the safeguarding of deaf children. Most of the countries that we work in are low-income countries, low-resource countries. So we work in countries like South Africa, which is where I'm from, Zambia, Pakistan. We're looking to go into Zimbabwe, Malawi, and eventually every single low-resource or low-income country. We do this work because I'm actually the mother of a deaf child, and I realized along my journey at certain points, something that to me is now completely obvious, but at the time it wasn't, just how vulnerable deaf children are. And if you're a teacher of the deaf, I'm sure that you probably are certainly aware of that. It's not something that your average everyday person ever thinks about. Obviously, because they benefit from incidental learning, because they don't have adequate communication. And what we have seen, the deaf children in low resource, low income settings, is that their language deprivation and their language levels of literacy are incredibly low. In most cases, deaf children are not able to communicate at all with their primary caregiver, whether it be a parent, very often a grandparent, and most of them are in residential care. I mean, you can just imagine how vulnerable this makes these children, and our work really is to do what we can to address that. We work mainly in the space of prevention. We work to develop and create programs that will strengthen everything that exists around a deaf child to help to keep them safe. So we have an amazing program called the Deaf Kids Defenders, and that is actually a series of, at the moment it's 7, but we are aiming to grow that. Visual games designed for deaf children. They consist of animations and also online games. And we've piloted this program so far in both South Africa and Pakistan with amazing results. We have rolled out the program to 620 deaf children across 10 different schools in both of those regions. And we're about to now launch this program into Zambia and do a further rollout in South Africa. We've seen that deaf children's knowledge is increased 7-fold through our program. We know that 91% of children are better able to keep themselves safe. Obviously, the simplest of strategies, saying no, being able to seek help, and obviously in the first place, even recognizing that abuse is taking place. We have many plans going forward with this program, and it is, in my view, really just so brilliantly designed for the deaf child. And for some of the deaf kids we've delivered this program to, it's probably the first time that they've ever experienced something that was specifically designed for them. We also have a flagship program called the Deaf Kids Goal, That's been in partnership with an organization called Slum Soccer, and we teach deaf children a life skills program through the medium of soccer. So you can imagine how exciting that is for them. Excitingly, we are now looking to also bring our programs to the UK. So we have plans for that in the coming months. Yeah, thank you for listening to me. Please look at our website, Deaf Kids with a Z International, and our Facebook page. We would love you to follow us. We would love you to reach out to us, and we appreciate all the work you are doing for Deaf Kids.
Thank you for that. That was a message from Deborah. I'm just going to get my presentation up now. Just give us a second.
And when you have the opportunity, Imran, if you can pop on your camera as well.
Yep, sorry, just give us a second. So has my screen come up, Teresa?
Yes, you are currently with the slides down the side visible and the main screen.
Okay, so I'll get that up and then I'll put the camera on as well so you can.
Yep, you're in presenter mode now.
Brilliant, excellent. So just going to start with a bit of background to doing this audiology refreshers. Then we did a survey, which many of you kindly did fill out for us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then the way these working groups developed. So I won't go into too much detail about the background of the audiology refreshers, as Sue's explained that in nice detail. But there was one thing she missed out. She gave a lot of good credit to all the people who have helped out, except for one person, that's Teresa. And she deserves a lot of respect for everything that's happened. So thank you so much, Teresa, because you have put a lot of effort, time, and you have driven this brilliantly. Thank you so much. So initial activities, what we did is when we were asked to take on this project of looking at the audiology refreshers and looking at giving it an overhaul and getting it ready for with the current information. So we did a desktop research and we looked at the current review of audiology refreshers. We looked at the MESH guidelines. We looked at different universities' curriculums, teacher of the deaf programs. And we also looked at something that the EAR Foundation had previously developed, the SoundSpace online resources, which was a really good resource. And what we then did is we discussed with individuals, experts, which were suggested by Teresa and Stuart. So we spoke with different lecturers at universities, people leading some of the programs at universities, different organizations and manufacturers. And they were very supportive, very, very supportive, and told us definitely this is something that needs doing. We've been given a lot of support with documentation, resources, signposting to others, and also kind of encouraging others to get involved in terms of developing the content. So one of the first things we wanted to do is originally the idea was to do interviews of people who had used the audiology refreshers. However, after discussing that project, we came to the understanding that it would be much better to get a nationwide, across all 4 countries, a survey to get an understanding of what audiology refreshers means to BATOD members. So the rationale for the survey was to capture views of users of the BATOD website and the audiology refreshers, and evidence-based approach to obtain a UK-wide perspective, and a more representative sample of initial responses compared to just a few interviews. And we were very lucky because we got 215 responses. So again, a sincere thank you for taking the time out to fill out the survey, because it gives us a much better understanding of what the needs of people are. So in terms of response rate, BATOD full members that responded were 157. And if approximately there's 1,300 BATOD members, that was a 12% response rate, which is pretty good. And then in terms of BAEA members, we had 28 responses, and the BAEA full members are 75. So we had an excellent 37% response rate from the BAEA members. In terms of the survey overview, I'll just go through the demographics of the respondents, and then what the usage and perceptions of the audiology refreshers were for those who had responded in the survey. And then we'll look at working groups and the contributors for each of the working groups. Okay, so in terms of the demographics of respondents, what were the memberships? The vast majority were members of BATOD, as you can see there, 69% there, and also these were QTODs as well, but not members, but they were QTODs. So the vast majority were teachers of the deaf, and these were full members but trainees. And then on the other side, the next highest percentage were educational audiologists, as would be expected. And in terms of current professional role, the teachers of the deaf were either peripatetic was the vast majority, over 43%, and the next was resource-based QTODs, and we also had about 8% educational audiologists. There was a large proportion of them, the respondents were other, and that included, audiologists in education, implant center teachers of the deaf, implant center rehabilitations, and teaching assistants, etc. In terms of country of work, the response rate we were getting was Northern Ireland had the highest response rate. I'm sure Teresa had something to do with that. We had 48% response rate from there. In England, we had a good response rate of 12%, Wales 12%, and Scotland was an excellent response rate of 29%. And then we also wanted to look at were they already members of regional groups, because they usually find that the ones who contribute to content would be those that are already members of regional groups. So close to 50% weren't members of any group. The biggest membership was BATOD South and BATOD North. I'm sure the numbers might have changed since then, because I know the Midlands are doing a great job. When we asked, have you ever used the audiology refreshers, over 50% had never used it. So that was really interesting. Less than 50% had said yes, they had used it. So when the people who had used the audiology refreshers were asked, when did you last use it? 20% within the last month, 20% within the last 6 months, and a good 30% had used it quite a while back, pre-pandemic. Then we asked them, how often do you use the audiology refreshers? And a good 40% said not that often. 36% said a few times a year, and a few times every month was 7%. So in terms of benefit though, the benefit to work, for those who used it, 96.5% said, yes, it's beneficial to work. So we definitely know that there's a place for it and there's a need for it. In terms of feedback views, there was a lot of positive views of those who had used it. The overwhelming majority said it was a useful resource. It was a good reminder and a good reference, good for in-house training for students, new staff, inset days. It was a trusted resource, and it's reassuring to know they're available. In terms of constructive feedback, a lot of people said they weren't aware of them, so they hadn't used it yet. So that was something that was brought up to our attention, that in terms of awareness, audiology refreshers does need a good push. Understandably, people mentioned that some of the content was out of date, needs regular updates. Technology changes need to be reflected. And a lot of people did mention they were looking forward to an updated version. When we asked them about future topics to be included, we had the likes of the anatomy and physiology of the ear, causes and types of deafness, hearing testing. I've put in brackets the mandatory qualifications that it merges with, or it attaches to: acoustics and physics of sound, listening skills and functional hearing, hearing technologies, hearing equipment checks, tests and repairs, assistive listening devices and verification, and others. So in others, there was quite a lot there, and it's important that we try and merge in as much as we can. So in terms of working group, we started with the website content development, and main topics for working groups was agreed upon. We were able to recruit people through the survey responses and key contact suggestions. So we were able to headhunt if we needed to, and Teresa was amazing for that. We found and identified individuals for each of the working groups. So 6 working group leads identified for the following topics. Now, anatomy and physiology, unfortunately, no one really put their hand up for that one. So that kind of fell on my lap. But the others, etiology and types of deafness, Emily Brooke has done an excellent job. She's taken the lead on that. Auditory, perception and hearing testing, Angela's done a brilliant job on that. She's taken Angela Morris, and each of these are going to present later. Acoustics and Physics of Sound, Karen Wright, who did a brilliant dissertation last year on acoustics. She took the lead for that. Listening skills and functional hearing, Naomi has been kind enough to and done a brilliant job of coordinating that. And hearing technologies originally was meant to be Stuart, but as many of you know, Stuart's had been through some illness recently, and Susan was kind enough to take on the lead for that particular group. So today we're going to present the initial development of these topics, and we hope after listening in that it encourages more contributions and involvement. So thank you for listening to that presentation, and from there what I'll do is I'll go straight to the website so you guys can see. So at the moment now on the BATOD website, on the main website now, right at the top, you're going to have this band here, and Audiology Refreshers has got its own little position there. So when you click on Audiology Refreshers, it takes you to the main page. It lets you know a little bit of the background, and it also tells you about the 6 areas. And there's a thank you to the William Demant Foundation there as well. Now, in terms of anatomy and physiology, which I'll do a quick whistle top tour for you guys, and then I'll pass on to Emily. So when you click on any of the main links there, it will open up the subheadings that come underneath it. And as you can see in anatomy and physiology, it says the working group there. We have got an email there. So if there's ever anything that you feel, one second, the contents are out of date here, the contents isn't correct or is not current. Also, if you feel, one second, I think I could, provide some really good contributions here. I've got stuff I've done. For example, you might have finished a dissertation recently. You might have done a presentation for work recently, and you've done a lot of good work on that. And it'd be helpful to share that with your colleagues. And one of the key things that, if I can emphasize enough, is one of the unique points that we wanted for the Audiology Refreshers is that it's done by teachers of the deaf, by QTODs, for QTODs. Sorry about that, Teresa. I could see I have to get my terminology right. So it's by QTODs, for QTODs. So that it takes into account that what the working QTOD is going to face on a day-to-day basis and what their needs are, and then also to get the content in a manner that's accessible. Because what you tend to find is non-QTODs are preparing the information. It's not always accessible. So you'll have audiologists can go down on a tangent on what they're comfortable with. And for example, medics might go down a whole tangent of what they're comfortable with, but it might not always be accessible or appropriate for what the needs of the QTOD are. So when you select any of them, what you'll find is it'll go to the actual resource then. So when you click the resource, it'll give you an overview of, it'll give you the content. So this one is overview of the ear. Some of the content will have videos in there. Some of them will have diagrams, pictures. And when you click on the videos, straight away as well.
Source all the way to your brain. Take a trumpet, for instance. When it's played, it makes sound waves in the air.
And one of the key feedback we're getting is we want more videos. And I couldn't agree more, because especially with something like anatomy and physiology, if a picture is 1,000 words, a video is 1,000,000 words. Just the whole process, when it's actually showing to you, you think, oh, now it makes sense. We could be reading textbook after textbook, and anatomy just doesn't make sense. And you watch one video and the penny just drops and it all makes sense for you. So there's videos wherever they're possible and throughout the Audiology Refreshers. So you've got for the anatomy and physiology section, we've got the overview of the ear, the outer ear, the middle ear, the inner ear, and the central auditory pathway. Yes, some of the content sometimes may come across as a little bit advanced, but then you do have the videos that summarize it in a very nice and accessible manner. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to hand over to, should I go straight to Emily, or do you want me to hand over to you, Teresa?
Straight to Emily.
Emily, I'll hand over to you. So I'll stop sharing my screen. And just gives you.
Thanks, Imran. Okay, I'm going to share mine. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Brooks. If those of you don't know me, I'm going to Try and share this.
And whilst that's loading, if you haven't already seen, the website went live, so there's a link to it in the chat as well. So if you're like to multitask, you can have a little nosy ahead of the presentations too. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you. So as Imran said, this was massively a team effort, although I was leading. I was supported by Veronica, Karen and Katie, without whom this would not have been achieved. So massive thanks to them and to Imran for driving us forward. Thank you, Imran. So obviously etiology is really important for us to be aware of if it's known, and knowing about how etiologies can maybe impact on a child's choice of communication, a parent's experience is really, really vital. So we struggled to work out how to kind of organise this section. As you can see, there's kind of the subsections down the side here. Excuse me while so describing deafness. If you click onto that, it takes you through to sort of tiles, but also the links here. So types of deafness, we just thought it'd be helpful to give an overview of everything. Again, it goes through to a tile and it gives you kind of the types, but along the side here you can see there's links back to that sort of anatomy and physiology, which can be relevant when you're talking about conjunctive hearing loss, whereabouts, etc. Sorry, I've got screen system error going on. Okay, great. Okay, and then we've got descriptive levels. Within these, there are links to the BSA documents as well for further information. So what we've tried to do is always have links to further documentation, because we can't put everything onto the website. It's just not, you know, the content's too great. We've got some examples of audiograms, which we thought might be quite useful, especially for those people who are in the early stages or just qualifying as teachers of the deaf, with some examples. And again, these links back, so links back to descriptor levels, frequency, describing deafness. And then we've gone into causes of deafness. Okay, and here we've got genetic, environmental, structural, diseases of the ear and other. Things like ANSD, we would think fall within other, because it's not necessarily an etiology, but it's a kind of, it explains a lot to us, and it's a kind of description of a range of, what's the word? The way we assess a child's hearing loss. Okay, so genetic, just click into here, for example, gives you a description of what genetic means. And I think this section is going to be the most useful. So it's an A to Z list of etiologies. Okay, so if I click into there, at the moment we don't have tiles, you would have to scroll. So if you're come across that you get a letter, a new referral, they may not have an etiology straight away, but when you get that information, you can come to this website and you can scroll through and look. So one of the most common is congenital CMV. And as you can see here, we've got a little bit of a description of what that is. Then we've got some considerations for teachers of the deaf and some further reading. And we've tried to do that for every etiology that we've managed to come up with. Obviously, there's a key role here for you guys listening, because there might be some missed etiologies, but also there might be some more information you think is worthwhile including. And you might find that there's some repetition of considerations for the teacher of the deaf. So obviously things like quite a few of our etiologies have progressive in nature. So it's talking about you monitoring. And again, it can link to the next section on, you know, speech perception, etc. There we go.
Thank you so much. Sorry. So we're just going to pass on to Angela now. Angela, you there?
I am there.
Just trying to stop sharing, sorry.
Yeah, so if you just close the window, Emily. So yeah, that's it. I think it should stop sharing now. No, it's still sharing.
Go to share screen and then stop sharing that way.
Okay.
Says new share. Sorry, guys. I don't want to stop.
I'm in. I'm in, Bo.
Brilliant.
Right. Thank you.
So hello, everyone. I'm Angela Morris. I'm going to start by actually saying thank you to a few people for this particular section that I have forgotten to add in, which Teresa will add in for me. So I'm looking at the auditory perception and hearing test. So these are the parts that the QTOD wouldn't necessarily be involved in because this is all happening at audiology. So to ensure that I got this correct, I'd like to really say thank you to Lucy McKellen and Catherine Nolan, who work at St Helier Hospital. They're audiologists. I'd like to thank Jane Douglas, who works for Seashell, and I'd like to thank Naomi Horner, who works as a clinical specialist at Cochlear, because their contributions help to make what I've presented readable and correct. So you will see from mine works exactly the same way in that we follow, if I can, thank you, follows exactly the same way. I've included newborn screening because obviously that's how we get our referrals, and you will see from there that I have same tiles. I will see that I've done exactly the same. I've had a little explanation. I've explained how the screening happens. And I've also covered for all 4 nations because each one is slightly different on how that screening happens. I've also included then what happens for us and how the referral would come to us via audiology past the screening. And again, similarly, I'm going to go right to the bottom. I've got further reading as well. So these are all things that will help us. I've put the information in, it's brief and it's understandable, but if you want to go into a deeper understanding, you can. So once we pass that, we need to understand what some of those other assessments will happen once they've been assessed. And there's a diagnosis of a hearing level. And so bear with me because I'm using a different machine. So I've included the different types of tests, the VRAs and the distractions and the pure tones. Going to go into just one so it makes sense. They work exactly the same way so that you understand what's involved in each of these assessments. Again, an understanding of what the test is going to involve and why it happens, what key things that are needed, how it happens. I think because as TODs, we are not part of this. We can observe it, but we're not actually part of it. I think it's really important that we understand exactly what's going on in the room. And the considerations for us is how we can support the family more than anything else when these assessments are happening. So you will get, that will be the what you see in most of those. But one of the other things that I think is really important for us as TODs is when we get those not straightforwards. So I've also done a particular section for ANSD, APD, and children with additional needs, particularly complex needs. I know in my area there is an increasing number of children with additional needs, and I think it's really important that oh, I did have pictures. My pictures have gone. That's okay.
Pictures will be added over time.
Okay, I did have pictures in there when I last looked. So this is really important because it's looking at things at how we can support people when there are complex needs. We have to follow the audiological process, because that's what the audiologist has to do. But as our TODs, we can then make it a lot easier and more manageable and be able to support them in getting reliable results. That was really good. Again, if you look at the further reading, the Seashell Trust was invaluable with their information, so I would recommend going to them. Okay, I also want to say I've included, I'm going to just bear with me while I do this, sorry. I've included how to do cochlear implant, the process for a cochlear implant assessment and the process for a bone conduction implant. And the reason why I've included that is because it's really important that we get up-to-date information so that we can actually support the families. And it's all key about supporting families and supporting the children. And the survey that Imran did, you could see that 50% of those surveyed said they hadn't used this resource, the Audiology Refresher resource. And it's really, I am one of those people that didn't use it. In fact, I was one of those people that didn't even know it existed prior to this project. However, from doing this, I want to just relay a little story about how valuable it has been for me. So with the bone conduction implant, there was a family that had been going to audiology, and the audiologist had suggested that it would be a good option for them. The family's first language was not English, and they didn't have anyone interpreting, and they didn't have anyone fully explaining the situation to them. I had been given this information on exactly what happens with the bone conduction implant. And through that, I was able to have a family meeting. I was able to explain very clearly so that the family understood, and they felt much more at ease and were much more willing to go through the process. If I didn't have this resource, that wouldn't have happened. And I think it's really important to just show the value and the pleasure that one can get from having this resource and having it at our fingertips. So I would say definitely make sure you use it. And I think that's me done.
Thank you very much, Angela.
Take it off, share.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Angela. That's brilliant. And just going to pass on to Karen once we.
Oh, I don't think you are. Got it. Thank
There
you.
you go. Yeah. So we're just going to pass on to Karen now, and Karen's going to talk us through the acoustic section, and she will be sharing a few videos with us too, which is really interesting.
Thank you, Imran. So this section is looking at room acoustics and the physics of sound, and it's very much a work in progress. I'd like to thank Ruth Crosby-Stewart for her contributions, and also Veronica Thorvaldsen, who's offered to help going forward, because I came late to the party. We know that classroom the sounds in classrooms and where pupils spend most of their day listening, it's really important that listeners are able to hear and understand what is being said. So this section is looking at the factors that affect classroom acoustics, acoustic standards and guidance relating to acoustics in school, the effect of poor acoustics, and ways that listening conditions can be improved. So just like in the other sections, there's a subsections with tabs, and if we have a look at the first one, this is looking at the factors that affect how sound behaves in a room. And again, we've got some links to some videos and considerations for QTODs, and also further information, which could be links to the mesh guides, NDCS resources, as well as videos. And the one I'd like to share with you is from Ecophon, and that's just looking at how the sounds in a classroom might be improved with the adding of wall panels and acoustic ceiling tiles. So we can click on the link. It takes us straight to the Ecophon lab. That all the videos that have been included from YouTube are here all together here, and also there's a range of other resources, including the experiment. So if we have a look at the classroom, we can choose on the right hand side here the sound that we want, and then we can add different absorption materials for the ceiling or the wall to see what effect they have. So I'd just like to share a little bit of this with you. Wall tile, wall panels. And then if we want to add ceiling tiles, you can hear the difference that might make, and it might help for inset or for helping with understanding. And it's just an experiment, so it's something that you could use just to play around with and see what difference those different types of improvements make. Going back to the other sections. Okay. So 4.2 looks at the challenges to speech intelligibility. So those challenges for being able to hear and understand in the classroom. So again, there's the links to the Ecophon videos that were also available from the lab. And also it looks at the three main challenges to speech intelligibility, to noise, to reverberation, and to distance. And again, as in the other sections, there's considerations for QTODs and also for further reading. Okay, in section 4.3, we have a look at the acoustic properties of a room and how it sound interacts within the room. So we have a section on reverberation time and on critical distance. Also looking at different speech sounds and signal to noise ratio. And this is, as I said, very much a work in progress. So if anybody would like to help in any way or thinks they might have some resources, then please get in touch. 4.4 looks at acoustic standards, legislation and guidance, and where there's a text that's highlighted, by clicking on that text, it will take you straight to the resource that you can access. So you can see here that we have the classroom acoustics recommended standards, with a note as well that this page is undergoing an update, but it's still relevant at this time. Okay, and the last two subsections that are on here will be the effects of poor acoustics, which there is content that we've been putting together and that will be added shortly, and 4.6, which is looking at how we can improve room acoustics and suggestions that can be made. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Karen. Brilliant. So that's quick. I'll pass over to Naomi next, and Naomi will talk about working group 5. Naomi, are you there? There we go. Excellent. You're muted at the moment. Oh, there we are. I think now we can hear you.
Okay. And I'll press share. Okay, should now see section 5. And it's been so interesting to be involved in this project.
Naomi, it's still, it's just for awareness, it hasn't appeared on the screen yet. It's still, it's might be the computer, it's just not visible on the share screen yet.
Yeah, I think it'll come up in a few seconds. It should be loading.
Okay. So while we just wait for it, I'd just like to give a really big thank you to the team that have all contributed their own time. We've got Connor Mervyn, Anne Bailey, Dominic Caswell, Susan Churcher, Nicola Wilson and Matt Freaker, who and to ask people to come on board at the last minute after they've just finished their audiology dissertations has been a real privilege to have their work. Right, can you see it now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Right.
Shall I unshare and try sharing again?
Yes, please.
Right.
All else fails, off, on.
If in doubt, switch it off and switch it on again. Right. It said it told me it was sharing. Right, we'll try that again. Right, it now says that it's sharing. Is it sharing?
Not yet, sorry.
Will it work if I share mine and then you can then do it from there? So if you unshare.
Okay. I'll just press stop share. I don't know why it didn't work.
And then I'll just take you back to where we need to be. So
the good thing is that I think the website is so sort of intuitive that it's quite easy just to find your way around and find your way into what you're looking for. So if you click on section 5.
Is that the right place? Can you take over now? Can you continue or do you need me to click?
I'm going to need you to click because it's your share and I haven't got control of your computer.
Okay.
I don't think I have.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that functional hearing assessments that are done as part of every teacher of the deaf's everyday work. I think what was really interesting as we started breaking it down was looking at what was useful for which cohorts of children, and also some of the benefits and disadvantages of each type. However, there are some sections that will still need a lot of work. And right, can you all see where that email address, Bathold Audiology Refreshers at bathold.org.uk? If you have more content that you'd like that you could add here, please, we'd love to see it. Okay, so if you just scroll down a little bit, you can see we're split. Ours is split into 9 sections. We started from thinking, yeah, let's work from the most basic, where we're just looking at children's responses to to sounds, and work up more complicated. So if you click into 5.1 and into sound-based testing, now if you scroll up, this is the work that Dominic worked very hard on this, and will be linking his dissertation when that's all fully finished. But sorry, when it's been fully marked and everything. So a section on the Ling sounds. Again, we've got an introduction. Keep scrolling down with details, procedure, including a video, but we won't even try doing a video just in case it doesn't work. And a link for more information. We've got the pictures and oh yeah, that's my photographs of my lovely little Ling toys. And also, yeah, that's the ones that from Cochlear, and I liked the way we managed to get showing different approaches, and here he's talked about variations. And if you scroll down, we're looking at what the considerations for a teacher of the deaf are, and then looking at the Maddle-Hewitt sounds. Now, of course, this is all much newer and wasn't part of the original Audiology refreshers. So this is we're really using brand new research and so on to to get information out to everyone, so that we've got access to the current information as it's relevant to us as teachers of the deaf. And you can see here we've got, and of course, all the really good links to get to be able to produce and use these assessments straight away. And if you just quickly scroll down, and then, as you can see, all fully referenced. So if you go back, should be able to just click the back button to get back to the tiles. Listening skills and functional hearing. Go back one more. That's it. So we're now back at that menu, and we're now just going to very quickly click through the other sections. So if you just click into toy-based and click into it again. So the McCormick toy test, I'm aware it needs a little bit of work at the moment, because we've got lots on the McCormick toy test standard, but not a lot that's explaining the EAL version. But like we said, this is a work in progress, and we're really building on it. So if you just go now, and this of course links into the later section on automated tests, so the picture-based tests. And as you can see, this one doesn't have a lot of the, so talking about what the issues and benefits are with each kind of assessment. If you go back, and so then working into the single word lists, and the research we did when we were looking at this was really surprised me. I hadn't realised quite how old the AB word lists and Manchester word lists were, and how continually they continue to be valid. So this is beautifully broken down into how to perform it, then looking at the AB short words and the Manchester word list to see the difference, and explaining how, I think with the word list, it's always very interesting how the different scoring. Click back, and if we go back into
the sentence.
The sentence lists is one of our areas that we do need some work on. So if you are working commonly with the with sentence level, if you could write us information on the sentence lists, please send it to the email. But we've again, we've got embedded videos to demonstrate. So if you go back, and then we have the automated tests. Now, this is Anne has worked very hard to give us a really detailed breakdown in how to use the different automated test systems, up to date, with links back to Soundbite Solutions, who produced the Parrot system, telling us how we can use it and how we can make our decisions between which equipment we use. And also the Ewing's, you've really got the two systems, the Parrot system and the Ewing Foundation Speech and Noise. and she's got really detailed but clear, and I think that's the important thing, and well referenced, so that if you need to follow up, you can. If you just go back and so having looked at how to do the assessments, also now we wanted to actually look at some of those profiles that parents, teachers and children make of their own listening skills. If you just click into the children and young people reports, the parents one, you've got your Cheer, Peach and so on, but that's still in development. We've got a really nice breakdown on the Life and Life R, the listening inventories for education and revise, including how to get hold of them. And again, the AFAB was something that I didn't know about, and it's been really interesting to find out more from the team working with us. So it's been so interesting, and I think possibly this section is full of things that I personally will be going to again and again and again. So that's a quick tour. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Naomi. That was brilliant. Thank you for the detailed tour.
And thank you, Susan, for doing all the scrolling for me.
So it makes it easier because I could just pass on to Susan now. Your screen's already on.
Yeah, so if we go into hearing technologies, just before we start, I'd just like, because although Stuart White, Lisa Bull and Connor Mervyn and Nicole have all made major contributions, we also had Luke Wilkes, Rhiannon Line and Bernadette Miller also contributing to our meetings, and probably will be involved in the future as well for content. Because hearing technologies is such a vast area and changes so fast, and we have to make sure that it is accurate and current, we are taking a bit more time to make sure that we get the correct information, and also we get the agreement of the manufacturers that it's all correct as well. So ours is taking a little bit more time to develop. In this section, we're looking at information on different hearing technologies. So that is the hearing aids, bone conduction hearing devices and cochlear implants, and also the assistive listening devices that go alongside those. So the radio aids and the assistive listening devices like streamers that would go alongside the hearing aids or the cochlear implants. And also the sound field systems that can be used alongside the technology. In this section, we've also put a section on test box measures as well. So looking at how to verify and evaluate and validate the equipment we're setting up and using with children to make sure it's the most effective. So just go, you can see from that page basically what's covered in this section. Some of the areas have not got a lot of information, well, not a lot of information to start with, and others have got a lot of information. So don't be disappointed, it will come. It's just we're making sure that it's accurate. When we put the information on, we're looking to provide you with information for the current hearing aids that are being used now, and the previous, maybe the previous one, and maybe the previous one to that. So we don't have it going back all the way into the past, so it won't become a history of hearing aids. It will be the ones that are being used currently across the 4 nations, and that's the same with all these technologies. We're going to use what's current, and also the ones that have just, you still might see because they've not been upgraded to that next technology. So when how the website is designed is that if I go into the bone conduction hearing devices part, it's the same as the rest that you've already seen. So it has an introduction to explain how generally that technology works. And then it might have a video about how how it works as well, or some written text. It has information on parts of the device and also about the makes and models that are available in the 4 nations. And then, as with the rest of the site, it's got considerations for qualified teachers of the deaf, and that doesn't have to be just qualified teachers of the deaf. That could be open to speech and language therapists or whoever's looking at it, whatever's current. So here we've got information about checking the device. We've got links to the Con Evans website of where you can actually buy these things from, or Ruby Audiology for a different supplier. This is not exhaustive. We've just chosen different places you can get it from, but there's also other suppliers as well. And then later on, we've got the connectivity. So how the hearing aid or the cochlear implant connects with different technology. So connects with a radio aid, or maybe connects with your phone, or connects with your iPad or your tablet. Here you can see it's how the Oticon Ponto connects to the EduMic, and then there's a video off YouTube to show you that. And then further down, we've got further reading and useful links as well. Okay, so that page has got most of the information. I'm sure there's probably other things that we've forgotten, but we'll be reviewing this as time goes on. So if I go back into hearing technologies, so some of the sections also that are not complete may have some useful links. So for example, the sound field systems, we click into this. It says this section is still under development, which it is, but there's also some useful resources that have been added in the meantime. These, I've got a note of caution because I have clicked on some of them and they're not exactly, that they are roughly relevant to this area, but we will be going through them and checking that they are very specific to this area. So I'm just saying that we will be coming to that as well. But there's also some journal articles in that section as well, just to put you on for the meantime while we prepare the content. One of the sections that has been prepared by Stuart is the test box measures section, which has lots and lots of information on it. I think we'll be looking at sectioning it up a little so that we can get to the relevant parts quicker as other sections have been done. But the actual information is invaluable. So it starts off with an introduction. And it's referring to the FM group, the now called the UK Assistive Listening Technology Working Group, and it takes you to the most current guidance that there is out there. So if we click onto the QS8 electroacoustic checks, there it will take you to the relevant site so that you can then look into the next bit. And that is because Stuart's also been involved with that. You'll see a similar way of going into the next part. It's a bit like a expanding box. You get all sorts of delights in there. So just going back, and I'm just looking at how I get back for a minute. There we go. Oops, no, I've gone into the wrong thing now. You can see I'll have to go back in there. And in there. There. Okay. We've also got an explanation of terms used. So if you're not sure what the acronym means, it comes up here. Some health and safety guidance. And then it goes into how systems are checked, subjective checks, electroacoustic checks, different test box options, because you might have different ones, the equipment you need to go along with the test box, and then information about balancing with the radio aid, and and there's lots and lots of information in here. If you scroll through, I can't go through all of it today. It's got the tolerances of the different test boxes, and also how you validate once you've set the radio aid up in the test box. And it also has references to different questionnaires that can be used. This is not exhaustive. I think we probably can add more here, but this is the first start. And at the bottom, you've got useful resources at the bottom, and considerations for qualified teachers of the deaf and other professionals. And at the bottom, if you've not got all the information you need, there's also further information. So button and coin batteries. So if you are on the launch of the curriculum framework, the deaf curriculum framework, something about that in the chat came up about button batteries and safety concerns. You can have a look on here and that will give you the answers. And there's all sorts of things in here that you can look at. Okay, just go back up to the top. So we're going to look at that, how that can be used so we can get to the different bits quicker. And let me see if there's anything else that I've forgotten to tell you. No, I think that's about it. So that's just roughly a quick whistle-stop tour of that section. Obviously, there's more to add, and we appreciate if you've got information and very nice slides and things like that you want to add, please email us. This is meant to be not having everything on it. It's meant to be a filter for the internet, so it points you in the right direction. So it's almost signposting you to the right places, and making it quicker for you to find the relevant information you need. So it's sort of a one-stop shop. You go there and then you'll be pointed to the next bit, and then you'll be pointed to the next bit, so that you can find the information you need that's relevant to your children quite quickly, because we haven't got loads of time, have we? We need to find that quite quick when we're in our daily practice. So thank you for listening. I'll pass back to Imran.
Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Thank you, Susan. If all the presenters, if all the working group leads could just switch their cameras on, please. Teresa's just going to pin everybody, and then we'll be open for question and answers. Let me check. Got Emily and Angela on. And you can unmute as well. Are they on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Thank you, everyone, because it's a whistle-stop overview of the launch, the soft launch of the Audiology Refreshers resource, and a big thank you to everyone involved. There have been a few questions popped in the chat, so I'm going to throw them out to the room and you can respond. I think I've got everybody on the screen. So there is a question which the group may not be able to answer yet, if there would be plans to make this resource available as a PDF as well for people to be able to pull out of the bag. I suspect that might be something the group needs to.
Yeah, I mean, we do hope that we can do that, so that at the end of each page, if there's a possibility that we could download it. So it's something we'll speak to Sim about, our web developer. So hopefully, if it's something we can do, that'd be great.
Well, we've got the questions. Well, in terms of the when speaking about the assessments for the BAHA and the CIs, were they the same at all the different centres?
Oh, sorry, that's me. No, I actually only sourced my bone conduction implants were sourced from Cochlear, and my cochlear implant was sourced from St George's in London. So I would say that I would need to add a little caveat in there to say that that other settings may do it slightly differently.
Thank you. There's a question as well. Is there going to be a section on language assessment? The individual was just wondering if this would be useful, what is out there in terms of benefits and restrictions, as we often ask other services what they're currently using in terms of BPVS, TROG, etc.
I pass that on to Naomi. Sorry, you're muted, Naomi.
Right. Yeah. I replied there because I think that is really useful. Maybe that's something to look at with the NDCS, who do have a really comprehensive guide to the different assessments. That's certainly where I would go if I was trying to work at looking at which assessments to use. I put the link in the chat, but they have a live document that is updated regularly with all the language assessments we might use.
And thank you, Naomi. And Susan, you put your hand up.
I think that link might go in the deaf curriculum document that we've got a draft form at the moment, so it might be covered by that and be signposted from there rather than from the audiology refreshers. So. And
that the specialist deaf curriculum framework will be available on the BATOD website as well, whenever it is finally published. There is a question regarding the videos that were shown. Is there permission to use video clips that are on the website regarding the room acoustics and training sessions to schools?
Yes, so all the videos that are on the website are open access, so they're YouTube videos, so you have full access to use them as long as you use the link. So if you right click any of the videos, it'll give you the link, or even if you left click it, it should take you straight to YouTube. The option should come up and you should be able to use them.
There's a question that may not be able to be answered today, is will relevant sections be available in different languages in order, for example, being able to explain etiology in community languages?
I'll let Teresa answer that one.
I think it's something that will probably be limited within our resources at the minute in terms of any community language translation, one, because there's so many, and two, it would need very careful analysis to make sure the translation is correct. But maybe that's something through Deaf Kids International and other organisations we work with, who've got a global representative of what may be possible beyond just doing Google Translate, because I'm sure there will be misinterpretations.
I would just add as well that some of the links to NDCS, they have some of the information in different languages. So you might be able to find it there, but yeah, I don't think we can. I haven't got the resources to do it all.
No, and cover every language. There is a question as well that I saw a link for resources for CSWs, communication support workers. It's great that they are considered and can access these resources too. Do they all need to be BATOD members to access, or can anyone access the refreshers? So, Imran?
Yeah. So from our understanding, it's an open source content. So the audiology refresh is open to everybody, audiologist, anybody. You just go on. You don't need to be a member, and that's one of the unique things about the audiology refreshers. Sorry, Susan, are you putting your hand up, Susan?
Yeah. Perhaps we just need to make, in terms of, we say considerations for a qualified teacher of the deaf, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be accessed by anybody else. And perhaps we need to, in the introduction, perhaps we need to make clear that this can be accessed at any level and according to what you need. So it can be accessed at a very simple level from just looking at the introductions, but also you can look at more depth if you go into the further reading and you follow the links through to other sites. So it is open to all people, everybody.
We're also hoping that the maybe audiologists and pediatric audiologists in training will also make themselves familiar with this resource, so they can understand what knowledge the professionals in deaf education are also bringing into this field. So, and we anticipate that it will be used by speech and language therapists and others as well. We've got, oh, thank you very much. There's a comment about accessing the website from Australia will be very helpful. Excellent. And as Imran said, it's one of the main purposes that we approached William Demont for the funding, was that in order to be able to make it an open access resource, so that it is available to any of our peers across the world, but more particularly our peers in the Global South. And also by being an online resource, we're able to go in and edit it much more efficiently than when the traditional PDF resources that had been used in the past. And in relation to the PDF resources in the past, is that content to be ignored, or what would be the views of anyone who still carries around the trusted 2009 version in their toolkit?
I mean, Angela can answer this one because she does use them still regularly. Just, you're muted, sorry.
Yeah. So when I was actually working on this project, I took a hard copy of it into Audiology and asked them how much of it was still feasible. And for my section, there was definitely some stuff that was still workable, and processes that Audiology were still using. So I think there are some elements that are still valid, definitely.
Yeah, there are definitely some sections that are,
yeah,
you don't expect to change. So for example, around acoustics, some of the sections, they're very valid still. But then obviously, understandably, in the technology section, a lot of it is going to be out of date now.
I do think that, sorry, Susan, I do think that what we have done with the website is we've slightly rejigged where we've put information, so it doesn't follow the same format exactly as the original hard copy, and that might make it a little bit more difficult for some people, because they might look at it in the hard copy and go, well, it should be in this section, but actually it's somewhere else.
I've used it for quite a lot of years, and I tend to use it with new people starting, or had been using it with people starting out, because it was quite a simple way of getting a lot of information across, just on one, if you just looked at one area on one A4 spread. So quite a few of the areas still have some content that is still relevant, but you might find it a little bit outdated in terms of format. So you won't find the videos obviously on there, but it just depends on the person and what information they need. Some people do like an A4 spread that's just got the basics on it, and that's what you'll find there. But if you look on the website, you'll find a more interactive experience that points you and signposts you to the next part.
Thank you. And Emily, for etiologies, because there'll be many of which some will be quite rare, is it a matter of people getting in contact with you to say, I have a child with this etiology, I can't find much, can you help? And then how would it be that information can be acquired to then be made public on the audiology refreshers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about kind of updating as we go. I think we started with a kind of just a list, and what I was trying to say is we try to divide it into syndrome, non-syndromic, but then it kind of genetic, but obviously some syndromes are genetic, you know, some deafness is genetic and syndromic, so it kind of became quite difficult. So I think the email that that's on the website, I think if you contact us and you think, oh, this is a glaringly, or this child, I mean, I'd never heard of Wolfram syndrome until this year. So, you know, I think we need all our heads together in order to make sure we're covering everything that we might come across. So please kind of have a look at the section and go through the A to Z and think, well, I think this is missing. We've hopefully covered the most common. There's quite a lot in there, but absolutely come back to us and share what you're finding. I'm also going to ask our AVM, because I work in an implant centre. I'm going to ask her just to have a look at the section to see if she thinks there's anything that we need to add, which might be useful.
AVM for our attendees beyond the area that you work in?
Audiovestibular medic, sorry.
Okay.
Lisa.
And that is why we've also produced a handy abbreviation guide to the resource as well, because
reading nicely into.
So I'll be passing over to Imran in a minute, but Karen, in terms of the acoustics, there's the interlinking with communication to schools and what's effective across the 4 nations. Anything you'd like to add in?
Well, with regards to the information that we put on about acoustic guidance, so BB93, I believe, is currently being reviewed. So, you know, once we got more information about that, then we'll be able to add that to the information on acoustics. But again, as I said, that section is a work in progress. So if anybody's got anything that they think that would be useful to add or any resources, then please get in touch, because we would like to add your contributions too.
And I think the Emily and Naomi, the kind of comment that's just been popped in the chat, I think maybe relevant both your sections in regard being useful to know what is the pathway for parents post-diagnosis who are having etiology investigations, as it can be a change in picture and parents can be very confused with what about tests that they're having. And I know, Naomi, you were also covering things, specialising in children with additional needs as well. So some of the content will kind of dovetail into each other. Would that be correct?
I think the challenge there is that it's probably different in different hospitals. So kind of finding out what I don't think there's a standard approach, but I can certainly have a look at that for etiology investigations.
Thank you. And as we've got a comment as well. Agreed from Kitty. I used the audiology refreshers often started when training and still access it now and then, mainly for confidence. Great resources for quick checks, and I'm grateful for all the hard work that's gone on to this project. I think you're echoing what we all feel. It's been a trial of love and beyond, I think, for everybody involved behind the scenes. And thank you for saying you'll share it with the wider team and new staff inductions. Also for those individuals who maybe have contacts who are thinking about training as a QTOD, it'll give them a very helpful head start in the kind of knowledge they need to acquire. So sorry, Susan, I didn't spot that Linda has got her hand up, so she can put on the camera and ask the question directly.
She had her hand up, but it's actually gone down. So I don't know whether Linda E on my screen still got a comment to make, or if she can nod or shake her head. I'm not getting any response, so maybe that's gone.
And we are wrapping up at 3 o'clock. So I will pass over to Imran for the closing comments and kind of an update what will be coming next, including a survey. Let's see who can beat Northern Ireland's return on survey responses.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Teresa, and every single one of you has taken the lead and all the contributors. And also thank you for listening in today. Really appreciate your positive feedback. The important thing is this is very much a work in progress. And as I said, the unique thing about this resource is that it's going to be developed by professionals, by colleagues, your colleagues, and it's going to be for colleagues. So it's important that we keep that information updated. One of the next things we're going to do is a follow-up survey. So the initial survey gave us an indication of what was needed in this resource. And now what we want to do is get a follow-up survey to see how much of it's been ticked off and what things could be improved, etc. So that follow-up survey hopefully should be coming to you in July. Those of you who are off in the Four Nations, who might be off work at that time, we'll keep it open a little bit longer, but please do try and fill that survey out as well. And the important thing, which all the leads said, is please get in touch. If there's anything which we can kind of update. One of the unique things about having it on a website rather than in a magazine article is we can quickly update it, or we can quickly add something on, or we could quickly delete something, whatever's needed. So please feel like it's your resource. It's open to all, but we want you guys to get involved. And we've got this excellent team there, so make the most of them. Thank you so much for listening.
And thank you, Imran, and thank you to Imran and Gemma, who have been coordinating a lot of the work and helping support all the people involved behind the scenes. And again, our thanks to William Demont for the funding, which helped significantly alongside BATHOD's funding to make this resource kind of the open source online resource that is now available to all. Anyone, share it with anyone. And please do think about coming on board and sharing what you have to offer. And we welcome your feedback, because it is a live document, and as Susan and others have indicated, there's parts we already can see now that it's live on the website about what needs changed. So come join us. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And I'm just checking I haven't missed any comments that are whizzing through. There's lots of thanks and feedback. Look forward to the same level of feedback in the survey when Imran circulate. They'll be available, Imran, quite soon. Though we'll probably tie it in with sharing the recording from this webinar as well. But we will check the transcript first, because it's unlikely that every word will be captured correctly. So give me roughly a week for that transcript checking to be done, and then the recording should be made available. So. And on that note, at 2:58, nearly 2:59, have a lovely day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.